Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 595. I hope you are doing good and great on this July the 26th, because today we're talking about motivation. We're talking about procrastination. How can we get one, and how can we let go of the other? Well, first of all, let's think about what one and the other is. Procrastination is obviously the lack of doing something. Motivation is the instigation of actually doing something. And we want to be able to move ourselves from procrastination to motivation. Now, the thing is, what we've got to really understand is that when it comes to procrastination and motivation, specifically motivation, it is run by an unconscious aspect of us. You see, our drivers, our motivations, and all those things come from our values. You see, if you have a high value for doing something which is important to you, you're more likely to go ahead and do it. If you have a high value of money, you're probably going to be more driven to money. If you have a high value for, say, family life, the chances are you're going to be more driven to be able to be around family. So it is important to understand that a lot of motivation and procrastination comes from our values, the things which are important to us. But it does go a little bit deeper than that, because if we think about the first real reason why we do not do things, we are driven away from pain. Right? You don't want to go into pain, so it's easier to not do something. If you have a goal or a dream that you would like to achieve, whether it be big, whether it be very, very small, the chances are the reason why we're not doing it because it's easier not to do it, right? It's easier to watch TV. It is easier to go on social media. It's easier to watch a video. Now, that is one level of it. Now, the other level is that we drive away from the pain, which could be something like fear, right? Where you might be too fearful to go for what you want. You might have fear because we might fail. Maybe we're not enough. Maybe we don't feel we're capable. Maybe we'll go ahead and do it and find out that we weren't who we thought we were, or what people think of us. So there are many different levels of why we procrastinate, and I want you to really think about it before we get into the solutions. Where do you feel like you are? Is it easier not to do it? Or is it so fearful or painful that we're scared, that we don't feel we're able to go for our big goals and dreams? Now, typically, if it's a big goal or dream, then the chances are it's going to be based on fear. We're going to have things like self-sabotage. We're going to sabotage our dreams because we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to get rejected. We don't want to get found out. For the smaller things, it can be that, but also, even for the big things, really, I think they can go in hand. It's just easier to not do it. Right? Because it doesn't take effort when you're not doing anything. You can hide, you can run, you can get your attention to other things which seem easier to you. Now, what I want us to really get into is the whole pain and pleasure. Like, we get more pleasure from the nothing of doing nothing because it's easier, because that pain is there, that fear is there, that doubt is there. Now, one of the ways we become more motivated is to turn the tables. And this might be pretty painful for you. And do you know what? It's okay to feel some pain sometimes, because pain is a driver, right? Pain can be something that does motivate us. So let's get into that. If at the moment there is more pain from not doing something, there's more pain from doing the thing than not doing. So it's easier, right, to just do nothing. You've got to introduce, and there's where it gets not so nice, more pain in the easier to do nothing, and more reason as to why you want to do something. For example, when I take on my clients, I get them to go through a process of why it's important to change. And by doing so, to come up with 100 reasons to change. Now, have you ever thought about that? Have you ever, if you've got a goal and dream, have you actually written down, not just typed, but written down the 100 reasons why you must change or why it's important to do what you need to do? Now, for the smaller things, it might not be as applicable, but maybe finding 10 things as to why it's important. You see, suddenly, now it's building energy to the goal. It's building energy to the thing that we need to get done. Because you now know there's 100 good things on the other side of doing it. And as I said, we got to increase some pain as well. Maybe you want to come up with 100 reasons of what will happen if you stay the same. And that could be painful. Some of you might want to just stick to 10 because that gets pretty painful as it is, and you might go, look, I need to change. For example, if I don't go for my dream, I'm going to remain in pain staying the same. You see, you might think the goal and dream is pretty painful or hard, but to me what is harder is staying the same, that long-term pain, that little pain beneath the surface that continues to grow. Or even if it stays the same, that prolonged amount of pain just doesn't feel good. So sometimes just doing it, getting those 100 reasons of going, look, I'm going to get this done. I'm just going to get those 100 reasons because that's where the pleasure is. It's not easy necessarily, but now it's exciting because you're not focusing on the thing, you're thinking of the thing that it will get you, the byproduct of that dream. Maybe it's more abundance, maybe it's new exciting relationships, maybe it's freedom, maybe it's to travel the world, maybe it's to build up some security, maybe it's just for you, maybe it's for your family, your children. But when you come up with those reasons, that one thing is now expanded to go, look, this is why I'm doing it. Now, the why I'm doing it is the value. That's what I said right at the beginning. That's the unconscious driver. It's why we do what we do. They're the values. So if you increase more value into doing what you really want to get done, that's going to motivate you. And then if we put more pain into staying the same, now we've really expanded the gap. And that means you can't live in no man's land anymore. You got to make a decision. Do I go down the left road? Or do I go down the right road to my transformation, to my goal, my dream, to be exactly where I desire to be? So increase the pain, but increase the pleasure. Because usually we're just stuck in this no man's land. But if you expand the difference, if you change the goalposts, you are going to feel more drive. You're going to get more, look, I've got to change now. You see, if you think about people who smoke, like cigarettes and so on, or it could be anything for that matter, but mainly cigarettes. A lot of people will say, and I used to work with quite a lot of smokers, but years and years ago, like 10, 15 years ago. And a lot of the time, the mentality would be, well, I'll just quit next year. I'll just quit in a month's time. Like, it's always a little bit longer. It's always just putting it off. But if you can engage in the pain of the consequence, maybe, that might be a driver for them. I don't want to go down that road. I want to make a decision right here, right now. We need to increase the pain, increase the pleasure of change. Make a bigger divide. This is your conscious work. Now, on the next episode, we'll be doing the hypnosis aspect to it, but you've got to get your mind right. You've got to get it set up for success. And you're the one who can look for the reason, the why it's important to change. When you do figure out the reasons, the importance, it's going to drive you forward. But the other part is this. There's like the second aspect to it, because we've realized now, like on the foundation level, we know that our values are the things which drive us forward. And we now know, look, we got to increase pain, but we also got to increase pleasure to really drive us forward. Not in this no man's land of comfort zone. Really, it's a familiar zone, and really it's kind of painful if we stay stuck for the foreseeable future. But the second part is, if you have something that you got to get done, but maybe you've got more than one thing that you need to get done, and it creates what? Overwhelm. Overwhelm can create procrastination. Because overwhelm can be around fear. It can be about, because I've got too many things to do. So how do we deal with the overwhelm when we have more than one thing that we need to do? Maybe to your goal, there are many steps along the way. You're like, oh my goodness, to get this big goal, I got all these things I've got to set up to be able to get there. Maybe it's like creating a business. You got to get this set up, then that set up, then this set up. And suddenly you're like, oh my goodness, it's too much for me. Because you're overwhelmed by the bearing of all these things we have to do. How do we solve that one? Well, there are two things that you can do. These are my two mentalities that I do. I'm in the process of moving right now, so I've had to do the exact same thing. I've done the whole values of why it's important to me to get the things done, especially in my business, but just in the process of moving, there are many things you gotta do, right? So what I do is I write out the list of what I gotta do. That can be painful, but it's good because we get it outside of our head. Sometimes it's not as many things as we thought we had. But because it's in here, wandering around in your brain, you're not really catching them. So begin to write them out and then begin to consider how much, if you had like 100%, how much would you allocate to each one of those things that you gotta do? Let's say there are 10 things you've gotta get done and you have 100% of importance. Now, maybe the one thing at the top, like, acquires 25% right off the bat. That takes a lot of energy. And then maybe some intermediate ones are like 5%, 10%, and then got the small ones, which may be 1 or 2% or so. So now we suddenly know, we've got it on paper, but we know the big aspect to it. We know the real big, horrible one we've got to get done, and then we've got all the little fiddly ones we've got to get done. Now, your two options are this. You number one, get that big one out of the way, because that's going to be a weight off your shoulders. That's going to be like, got it done. I freed up 25% in one go, right? That's like really good to be able to get that bit of freedom straight away, because then you look at the others and you think, you know what? I got the big 25 one down. The other small percentage points, they're going next. So it kind of really releases you a little bit. But this is the one condition of this, because sometimes the 25%, or let's just say the big one, can have a lot of fear. It can have a lot of scarcity. It could be a lot of lack of confidence, a lot of low self-esteem. You might think of that big goal and go, do you know what? I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I'm capable to hit that big thing I need to get. So that's the disclaimer where you do not do the big one first, because you're probably going to set yourself up for failure. Because you're going to feel like you're going to procrastinate about it. You're going to self-sabotage yourself. So if it is overwhelming to the point that it's based around fear or doubt or something about your own ability, your own esteem and confidence to get that done, you then have to flip the model around. You get the smallest ones done. You really just go, I'm going to knock out that one small one, this small one. Why? Because it builds two things: momentum and belief. You see, if you go and get those quick wins, just get those quick wins, those small ones, you are getting that momentum, right? Because they're easier to do than the big one. So it feels a little bit better, right? You're just getting those things done. But also, it's giving you belief. So now you're approaching it from the different angle. Now, for most people who I speak to here on this live podcast recording, most people I work with have an esteem issue. They feel like an imposter. They don't feel like they're enough. They don't feel like they're good enough or capable or worthy or deserving and all those things. So my go-to would be doing this latter one, which is get the quick ones done. Build up that the momentum even. Build up that self-belief, because that's going to move you forward. Now the third step, or the third aspect, you've got to remember this, and it's very counterintuitive. Discipline creates freedom. Sounds weird, right? Because discipline does not sound like freedom, which is true. But the byproduct of discipline will create you freedom, right? That's important. Now, if you're disciplined to do, let's say you've got your to-do list of things you gotta do, and you're disciplined, again, the small ones out the way, and you just knock one out every single day, that is creating what? The discipline. And what does that do? Because you're getting them out the way, it creates the freedom. So you've got to be more disciplined to your goal. And that's why it goes back to that first step, not the foundation of why it's important, why our values are unconscious, but the first step of increasing the pleasure and increasing the pain. Because when we do this, those reasons as to why it's important will drive the discipline, right? You are now disciplined to getting those things done. You're getting the small ones done, even the big one, if that's something that you're going to do. But that discipline will give you the freedom, the byproduct. It is very, very counterintuitive, because we've been programmed to think that discipline, think about the word discipline. I bet you immediately think of negative feelings, that it's a chore, that it's hard. That's not what discipline is. Discipline is an art. Discipline is regulating yourself. It's ownership over yourself. It's responsibility. Why did discipline just get this confusion around it? Maybe it was school. Maybe it was because we've been structured for too long to go to work at 8 a.m., finish at 5 or 6 p.m., or discipline to do certain things as an adult, even as a child. But why can't discipline be fun? Why can't discipline be something that you're honoring yourself? Maybe discipline is honoring your future, because you're more disciplined to look after your future self. You are disciplined to look for your own needs and personal freedom. So change your word of discipline from saying negative in your mind and go, do you know what? Discipline gives me freedom. It gives me the freedom to enjoy the success. It gives me the freedom to love life. It gives me the discipline to lose weight or get that job, honor my craft. You see, when you're disciplined to your craft or you're disciplined to your goal, you are getting that belief once again. So change the frame of reference. A lot of the stuff that I do is about reframing your perception on things. You see, when you change your perception, you change your world. You see through a different lens. So remember, discipline is your freedom. Discipline is your empowerment. Discipline creates the choice to have what you want out of life. And think about it. It's not like you're not disciplined. Why? Now the counterintuitive part, we've been so disciplined to our problem. We've been so routinely committed to staying the same. I'm not saying you consciously are deciding to be disciplined to stay the same, but it's almost like a part of us feels like we should stay the same. We've been so disciplined to having the same thought process, telling the same old stories to ourselves, that we're not enough, we're not capable, it's too hard, let's just not try. I don't know if someone told you that when you were young, or even as an adult. Maybe you went through a significant event and the consequence of that event made you feel that way. But at the moment, we're disciplined to staying the same. And that goes back to that number one point again. You got to drive the reason to change. Now think about this as the fourth step. What do we think of usually when we talk about being disciplined? When we think about going for our goal? It has that pain because it's outside of our familiar zone. It makes us feel like it's too hard, it takes effort. Do you know what you're focusing on? You're focusing on the not starting, and also simultaneously the process of trying to start. That's wrong. We've been taught totally wrong about our goals. What should you do? Focus on the end outcome. Come with me on a journey for a second, just in your mind. When you think about your goal, you're probably in that kind of fear state. But let's change your frame of reference again. Go into the future in your mind, to the successful completion of that goal. To the successful completion. And those are two key words, successful and completion. Go to 5-10 minutes after that successful completion of having done what you had to get done. How does that feel? Does it feel free? Does it feel like you did it? Maybe a bit of self-satisfaction or achievement? You see, that's what we've got to put our attention to, because now I feel motivated. I'm like, I want to get it done because I want to get to the other side. Now, the other reason why this is important to you, but more importantly to your unconscious mind, because you've been focusing on the pain of getting there. But if you focus on the successful completion, you're getting your unconscious mind to go there. You're getting your unconscious mind to go to the end step, the last step, even the second to last step, because everything is done. You can be more peaceful, you can be more relaxed and free. Now your unconscious mind's gone there too, and therefore it knows why it's important. It knows how good it will feel to get there, or having got there. It'll know what it'll feel like because you're a success in doing so. Now you've reduced or limited or even let go the unconscious self-sabotage, the unconscious fear, because now it's actually going, do you know what? I want to make this happen. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to welcome that future aspect, that end successful outcome. And remember, along the way, yeah, you're going to have to adjust your behavior. Yeah, you're going to be flexible, but that's okay. That's growth. We got to just change the frame of reference of getting things done. Look, go on another journey with me. Think of the things that you've been unmotivated to do for a moment, right? Just think about those things. Now imagine, you may have heard me say this before, I think, but imagine that you're on the top of the mountain. You're on the top of the mountain, and you look down upon those little things that you got to get done, even the big things you got to get done, right down there in the valley. You're going to roar down and say, look, I'm getting you done. I am the one at the top here. I am creating the discipline that creates freedom. I am taking responsibility. You down there, the things I've got to get done, I am making it happen. I'm taking charge. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. I might fall over at times, but I'm going to get up because I know that it's important to me. You look down and you see those things and smaller than who you are. You're bigger than the thing because you are the essence of life. The things that you want, the things you want to achieve are just byproducts. They're just things. Yeah, those things can lead us to people, but ultimately, you are the driving force. So look down upon those small things, which now seem smaller, and go, I'm making this happen. I'm going to be the conqueror. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to assume responsibility. I am ready. You see, the reason why I said things such as the I am there, because it goes back to identity. It goes back to who you are, not the things that you do to get there, but the essence of you, the identity of you, the I am of you. I am going to make this happen. I am going to create the discipline. I am realizing why all these things are important to me, the identity. You see, when you come from the identity, you forget about the process. Yeah, the process will happen, the things that you do. But to make the things that you do, you got to get the identity correct. So go all in and building that belief system. Of course, the things that I said, rather, or I could say regarding the first step, was to create more pain and more pleasure the 100 reasons why it's important to you. Look at that every day and go, this is why I'm doing it. Maybe one of the reasons is for your family, for your finances. Like I said, it could be beyond you, but it's the end outcome of why you want to change. And then the reasons of staying the same. Don't live in a no man's land. Then we said, build the momentum, get the big one done first, unless it's more of an esteem issue when you think of that big thing. Instead, get the quick wins. The quick wins will build up to that big win. It's going to give you the drive. It's going to give you the momentum. It's going to give you the esteem in each and every win that you get. So when you see that last big one, you're like, you're mine. The third thing I said was about discipline. The counterintuitive aspect is discipline creates your freedom. The consistency creates your freedom. So don't think of discipline as being a negative thing. Hey, you're disciplined to probably get dressed every morning, to brush your teeth. What's the difference? You don't see it as a crazy big chore. Maybe you do. But you do it. And that's the same thing for discipline in getting your goal. Discipline is creating the freedom of choice in the future. It's looking after the future you. Discipline creates freedom. Don't be conditioned by the world or people to think that discipline is a negative thing. Because you are disciplined already. Disciplined in doing the normal things you do every day, or disciplined in remaining the same unconsciously. So let's take that and put it into the positive. Then the last thing I said, or one of the last things, go to the successful completion to your goal. Go to that level. See that side, the other side of having made that change. Because that's going to be the driving force which looped us back to number one, the reason why it's important. And then imagine in your mind, looking down as you're on top of that mountain, see those things and go, you're mine. I am going to be the person. I am the one who's going to make that change. And when you do that, it is going to create more momentum. It's going to create the motivation. Once again, full circle, motivation is a value, the things which are important to us. So if we're not procrastinating, or if we are procrastinating, it's not as important to us. So increase the importance, and of course, deal with the esteem issues. That can be a big conflict, especially for my audience. So go through the hypnosis. Join me on Wednesday, unless you're listening to this on the recording, the next episode, for the hypnosis experience. We'll be covering all of these things. But of course, on top of that, remember, we've got the app as well, freehypnosis.app. And that app, you can create custom hypnosis tracks. It has all the free titles. Episode 595 right now. Almost 600 free episodes for your consumption. Over 100 of those are hypnosis tracks. For free. You can consume them. You can share them. You can also create stuff in the app as well. You can listen to the day ones. You can listen to the night ones as you go to sleep. Just transform even. And of course, if you're enjoying the app, please go ahead and leave a review. It is free to download. You got all those free ones in there. You can pay it forward. You can help the show and unlock the whole app if you want. Unlimited creations of hypnosis tracks and all the day and night versions. I think we calculate is ultimately, not that you'd ever do this, but like over 2,000, I think, opportunities of custom tracks and the day and night versions of the main hypnosis section. And then on top of that, the last thing you can do, but there's if you're really committed, like you got to go all in. There's working with me and my team personally. You go to josephclough.info/power, watch the webinar. Then if it does resonate with you, you've got to book a call with the team and then you apply, right? Not everyone gets through the application phase because look, we want to make sure we serve those we can serve. So if it's beyond our reach, it's something that we cannot do, we'll let you know. But look, if you watch the masterclass, you might feel like, actually, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to invest in myself. I mean, look, we invest in phones, we invest in computers, we invest in all these other things, the things in life, but we rarely think about investing in ourselves and think about all the reasons of all the things that will get you in the future. Like, I've invested over $100,000 at least into my personal development over the last 20 years, at least, right? And I've never regretted it because I'm living the life that I like. Yeah, there's things I deal with, but it allows me to be more equipped to deal with them when they happen. So that is just josephclough.info/power, but it is really for those who are more ready to let this go once and for all. Because you get like custom tracks right now anyway, from me. You get like support one-to-one sessions. You get like such a big process now. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got value from it. Those 3 or 4 tips will really create that freedom. So be disciplined in the tips and just see what happens, right? Just play it out. It's better than staying the same, right? So I hope you enjoy this episode once again, and I look forward to speaking to you in a future episode. And I will speak to you very, very soon. Many thanks and goodbye.